I'm Frank Sayles Jr. for the Tifton Grapevine. Congressman Austin Scott, Republican of Georgia, was back home in Tifton on Thursday, August 15th, and spoke to the Tifton-Tift County Chamber of Commerce. He updated chamber members about several issues, including the agricultural bill, the Benghazi situation, health care, and national security.
We're all going into the exchange. Let's talk about the NSA for a second, because that's been in the news a lot, and I want you to know what they're doing, what I expect to happen with that in the future. And first, I want to tell you that you're not listening to the telephone calls without a warrant. What they're collecting is the metadata, which is essentially a phone number called another phone number for a certain period of time on a certain date at a certain time and location. And they're collecting that from every telephone number that's out there, and it goes into a database. And then if they catch somebody in an act of terrorism, or whether it's in the United States or in another country, then they have to go before a court, get a warrant, and then they're able to backtrack who that person has been in touch with. I want to move down to the ag bill real quick. As you know, it didn't pass on the House floor. I was disappointed in that. We spent 3 years on that bill trying to reach a compromise. We had a compromise when it came out of committee on the SNAP or the nutritional side of the equation. For the first time, we had a bill that we were going to be able to pass that allowed drug testing, and it put work requirements in for people who were under the age of 55. I'm going to talk to you about Benghazi real quick. There's no other way to put Benghazi other than it was an assassination of the United States ambassador. And this is one of the biggest points of contention that I have with our president. Our economy is so fragile, and the men and women of this country that are out there working on the assembly line every day and doing the best they can to get by, when they realize how much they're going to have to pay on a monthly basis for that health care, that quite honestly many people today still believe is going to be free, then I think you've got the potential to see a real shock in the economy and the system.
Earlier in the day, Scott met with South Georgia representatives and volunteers with the Alzheimer's Association, and he discussed the health care law coming into effect.
October the 1st, when they release those rates, I think a lot of middle-income Americans are going to turn around and say, "Now, wait a minute, where am I supposed to come up with this extra $300 a month that I have to pay?" And if you look, because let's face it, if the economy is doing good, there aren't going to be cuts to the National Institute of Health. So again, as we're growing jobs and the economy's improving, we've got more money to spend on things like grants to the National Institute of Health, or funding to the National Institute of Health to continue grants. But the first thing I read this morning, and I don't, government economists, I don't listen to a whole lot. I pay more attention to a Walmart earnings report, if you will. And if you saw the story on Walmart this morning is that they are reducing their expected revenues, and they're reducing their expected profits because people are buying less expensive things on the shelf. And I think that's an indication of where our economy is.
Those in the audience also shared their personal stories and concerns involving Alzheimer's and related dementia. This is Frank Sayles Jr. reporting for the Tifton Grapevine.
Specializes in this area, so that they're able to diagnose it sooner